that goes back to a very sacred time. And it has a lot to do with my faith, if I can share that.
Yes.
That we quickly realized that other people needed to see how we handled this trial. I don't know if there's necessarily more than anything we needed to learn, but just as important for other people to see. And you lovely ladies out there need to understand my husband, anyway, is the dearest man and adores me. And, will just go to the end of the earth to do anything for me. And honestly, because he's so physically fit, he piggybacks me. He literally just carries me on his back all over the world. And we love to travel, and I refuse to get a wheelchair because I think that mentally that would wreck me. It's just, personal, whatever. Call it my pride. That's fine. My choice. But
you're entitled to hang on to that for as long as you'd like.
Thank you. I'm going to forever. Yeah. But anyway, he's dear and puts me and our family first. And so that is huge. But yeah, it also is really difficult for me to ask for help.
Yeah.
I'm independent. I'm, some people might call it stubborn. I call it determination.
Yes.
I'm a redhead. It's okay. No, but very determined and having a very difficult time asking for help. So it's been humbling. And we've had to come together and decide what we were going to do and how we were going to move forward with this together. Because it's not just Linda's diagnosed with MS. The whole family's diagnosed with MS. It's a family affair.
Right.
With anything, we're all going through it together, right?
Well, I remember you guys were so gracious on one spring break in high school. You took Braden with you to the Dominican Republic. He was so excited to go on this trip. I think at the time your older boys were on missions. Riker was the only one.
Well, he needs a friend. He doesn't want to hang out with mom and dad by himself. But
so he got to take Braden on this trip. And that was Braden's first experience to spend that kind of intimate time with your family. And I was so glad that he had that opportunity because he came home and he was changed again.
But I also saw Braden in a different light. I know you're trying to give me the credit, but...
Well, I mean, what he saw and came home and told me about is he's like, Mom, it was amazing for him to watch Riker help you. And watch your husband Roscoe help you.
And it was very hot in the DR, so I needed help.
So she has to be steadied when she's walking, and like you said,
turned to lead.
or carried places, and or traveling in an airport, luggage, bags. I mean, so many things that Braden hadn't been exposed to before because he has a mom who can walk.
Oh, I didn't think twice.
And he doesn't think twice about it. But to have him go with your family and travel and see,
he stepped up and was
I'm so glad
right
he did.
there helping. I mean, it's really Braden's amazing. We could talk all day long about the awesome, amazing mother that Callie is, but truly.
But what a cool experience because, like you said, it's a diagnosis for the family,
right?
And what a gift, though, because your boys, your husband, you've never seen men so. With such compassion, yes, and awareness, just so polite and so aware because of this challenge. And I think that is one of the gifts that comes from it. I mean, hard things are hard, and I see what you're going through, what your family is going through, and it seems so hard. But yet,
if I share
there's gifts,
that,
please.
Because so when I was diagnosed with MS, Riker, my youngest, was 2. Middle son, Corder, was 5, and Drake was 7. Young, very active, very dynamic, wore me to a nub when they were little. But great kids. But, you want to protect them and shelter them from hard things.
Yes.
When they're little. And you want them to have a normal childhood and not stress about mom being sick. That was what I was just like, I don't want them to worry. And as they got older, anyway, I was told I needed to rely on them more, lean on them more. I was doing them a disservice. And that was hard to swallow. That was really, really hard. But I specifically remember being on a family trip It was a hot day, and we were in Europe, and I, instead of grabbing my husband's strong, he's very fit, arm, I just had this distinct impression that I needed to reach out for Drake. Nope. I didn't hear a voice. I didn't hear anything, but very strong impression that I needed to reach for my oldest son, Drake. He was 12. And I was like, having this internal battle, just, no, it's fine. But once again, you're doing them a disservice. And so I did. I reached for Drake. I said, hey, Drake, called him Drakey. I said, Mom needs help. I'm struggling. Do you mind if I lean on you for a second? And you know what he did?
I could imagine.
Back and shoulders and said, I've got you, Mom.
Yes.
And honestly, that child of mine, they're all very aware. But because I learned a lesson, and isn't it amazing what our children teach us? But he is the one who sees a need and jumps in. Where it's great to ask if I need help. It's, they all ask if I need help. But he just...
I love that. Straightening his shoulders.
And said, I got you, Mom. It wasn't a burden when I thought I was going to be a burden. No one wants to be a burden. That is just like my biggest, I don't live in fear. So anyway.
Well, I think that's such an insight that we often are the ones who are thinking that we're being a burden way more than I think when we do ask for help, and the opportunity for somebody else to step in and help for others is appreciated. People like to know how to help and how they can do it and serve out of love.
Bother me, honestly, I'm like, I'm fine. I just, for so long, I'm fine. And now I'm like, people want to feel needed and need to feel needed and be able to serve others and receive the blessings from serving others. And wow, I have eaten humble pie so many times because I need to let others serve me.
Yeah.
And that's really hard sometimes.
Well, I'm sure because it does.
Women.
Yes, it does. There's like that balance that you're walking between learning those lessons of allowing people to help and then also holding on to elements of your pride and dignity that you have the right to as well. And so I'm sure you're kind of dancing that a little bit as you've been navigating this.
The word I've learned that has become my greatest friend. And it's really hard sometimes, I think, to submit, to let go of whatever we're hanging on to, pride, whatever it is, and just submit and let go and let just something higher and greater happen.
Yeah.
Just elevate it.
Right.
And that's okay if we need to let others serve us. And it's taken me, I'm old. I'll be 55 next month, but it's taken me a lifetime of having MS, really, and other trials. We all have our trials. Life is certainly not perfect, but man, does it shape us?
Yes.
And that is just what I'm most grateful for.
So, other changes in your family that you had to make, you guys had to make a sacrifice and build a new home completely for you. And during that time, had to move out of your home
in the middle of a pandemic,
to build this MS-friendly home for you.
One, main level, living, elevator, yes. And what a blessing to be able to do that. But, we moved from our kids' childhood home of 20 years plus to this, new neighborhood where things were uncertain. But I had to let go of that too. I had to let go of, I just never dreamt I would get to this point. And to be fair, my biggest issue is I fell and broke my kneecap.
Yeah.
6 years, almost 6 years. Yeah, 6 years ago. And so that was kind of, the injury was definitely
adding insult to injury.
Pun intended.
Yes.
All day long. So people look at me like, oh, your MS must really be progressing. And I'm like, while MS does me no favors, yeah, I literally just, the excruciating pain and chronic pain, man, I have a completely different respect and view and compassion for anyone going through chronic pain.
Yeah.
I never had before.
Right.
And so that has given me a new perspective. And is it fun? Nope. Do I love it? Nope. But I'm okay because I have learned so many things from them as well.
Well, and tell us, because so you're dealing with chronic pain, you're dealing with this decline, in your ability, your mobility. Yet from the outside, you always have a smile on your face. You're always optimistic. You're positive. You wouldn't think that there's a care in the world. And I know that that's probably not true in the quiet moments of your home because you're a real person. But yet you've had the grace and the courage to deal with this so beautifully. What kind of, and I think you maybe don't see it as much as others see it because, and we've talked about this before, it's your natural competence. This is unconscious to you. And so what you're doing naturally might even be hard for you to put to words. But if you could, what could you tell us about that?
I was raised by parents who were eternally optimistic, and I give them a ton of credit at that. But I talked about my husband. He gives me all the support I need and is an amazing example to our boys. And it's a choice.
Tell me more about that, because that's incredible, knowing that he's a person that literally climbs the world, all over the world, and is on the go, and he's taken the boys to hike these mountains. Like you said, you'll travel with him. Hasn't he been a little bit flustered by this because
by my lack of
or does he just
mobility?
Or is it just like what's it called when he goes to hike Everest and you hire the Sherpas to carry your stuff up?
Right.
I mean, he's probably like, well, this is my moment to be a Sherpa and carry my wife, because he packs you around.
Not complained once, and that speaks to his character 100%. But I will tell you, there is when I was first telling you that my husband dove into research and wanted to learn how he found an article. I don't remember what magazine or whatever, newspaper it was, but I will never forget what he said. He goes, this is interesting because there's science that proves if you have a belief in a higher being and a positive mental attitude, then those people that do have those two things fare far better no matter what their challenge is than those who don't.
Yes.
And I will all day long attribute it to my faith and remaining positive.
Yes.
And my husband is that. And we decided early on that we would not be afraid to share what I'm going through. And, this is difficult and we need to share with other people. I don't even know what to say, just our experiences and even different therapies, just to help maybe them weed through the mire to know which path to go forward. And we just felt very strongly that we needed to help others.
Yes.
No matter what their trial was. So anyway.
I think that right there is so important, that you've put your focus on how do I help others, because the second we go so inside on our hardships and are so worried about ourselves, we can just be stuck deep in the quicksand.
It keeps you alive.
Yes.
Actually.
But when you shift the focus on, well, how can I help others? How can I serve others? How can I get through this or find remedies in a way that will help others? That's a brilliant hack to get through this.